Welcome back to our channel. We hope you'll find valuable content here. If you enjoy our channel, please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. Let's dive in. The Middle East, a region of the world that is often enveloped in a shroud of mystery, intrigue, and misconception, has long been a pivotal player on the global stage. Picture this: vast deserts, ancient cities, and a rich tapestry of cultures and religions, all intertwined in a complex, often tumultuous, history. The Middle East is not just a geographical region, it's a mosaic of stories, of people, of conflicts, and of a resource that has shaped its recent history: oil. Introduction to the Middle East and the 100 Years' War. Imagine walking through the bustling streets of Cairo, the air filled with the aroma of spices, or exploring the ancient ruins of Persepolis in Iran, touching the stones that have witnessed millennia of history. The Middle East is a region that has given the world so much, from advancements in science and mathematics during the Islamic Golden Age to being the birthplace of some of the world's major religions. Now, let's embark on a journey through time, back to the early 20th century. The world was changing rapidly, with industrialization sweeping across Europe and North America. The mighty steam engines and factories were symbols of progress, but behind them lay a growing thirst for a particular resource: oil. The British Empire, with its vast navy, was particularly eager to secure a stable and ample supply of this black gold to maintain its global dominance. Enter the term 100 Years' War in the Middle East. It's not a single war per se, but rather a term that encapsulates a myriad of conflicts, interventions, and tensions in the region, spanning across a century. It's a metaphorical war, one that has been fought not just with weapons, but through politics, economics, and ideological struggles. This war is deeply intertwined with the pursuit and control of the Middle East's abundant oil reserves. Picture, if you will, a chessboard, with each piece representing a different nation, each move calculated and strategic, aiming to secure a stronghold over the precious oil. The pawns, knights, and rooks are not just the countries within the Middle East, but also powerful players from afar, such as the United States, the United Kingdom, and other Western powers. The stakes are high, and the game is complex. The control of oil doesn't merely mean wealth, it translates to geopolitical power, influence, and, at times, a tool to wield against adversaries. The Middle East, unfortunately, has often been a battleground where larger powers vie for control, influencing local politics, economies, and even instigating or intensifying conflicts. In the chapters to follow, we will traverse through the intricate pathways of specific events, conflicts, and shifts that have shaped the 100 Years' War in the Middle East. We will explore the role of oil, the people, the nations, and the global powers that have played pivotal roles in this century-long conflict. The importance of oil. In the vast deserts of the Middle East, beneath the golden sands and ancient ruins, lies a treasure more valuable than any ancient artifact: oil. This viscous black liquid, often referred to as black gold, has shaped the destiny of nations, fueled the engines of progress, and been at the heart of many conflicts. Imagine a time when the world was powered by coal and steam. The streets were filled with horse-drawn carriages, and the skies were yet to hear the roar of an airplane. As the world stepped into the 20th century, a shift began. Machines started replacing manual labor, cars began to appear on roads, and industries grew at an unprecedented rate. At the heart of this transformation was oil. But why is oil so significant? Think of it as the lifeblood of modern civilization. It powers our cars, heats our homes, and is a raw material for countless products we use daily, from the plastic containers that hold our food to the synthetic fibers in our clothes. The modern world, with all its conveniences and progress, is unimaginable without oil. The Middle East, with its vast reserves, became the epicenter of this oil-driven transformation. Countries that were once just waypoints on ancient trade routes or known for their historical relics suddenly found themselves wielding enormous geopolitical power. With great power, as they say, comes great responsibility. But it also attracts great attention. As the demand for oil grew, so did its price and strategic importance. Countries that controlled oil reserves had a significant influence on global markets and politics. Oil became more than just a commodity, it became a tool of diplomacy, a weapon of war, and often, a curse that attracted external interests and interventions. Consider this: the price of a barrel of oil could influence global economies, sway elections, or even be the reason for military interventions. The 1973 oil embargo, where Arab oil-producing countries imposed an oil embargo against the US and its allies, led to a global economic crisis. It wasn't just about the supply of oil, it was a statement, a demonstration of power. However, with this newfound wealth and power came challenges. How should the revenues be used? How can a country diversify its economy to ensure it doesn't solely depend on oil? And more importantly, how can it protect its resources from external interests? The story of oil is not just about wealth and power, it's also about the challenges of managing them. The Middle East's relationship with oil is a complex interplay of economics, politics, and history. As we delve deeper into the subsequent chapters, we'll explore how this black gold has been both a boon and a bane for the Middle East, shaping its history and, in many ways, determining its future. Historical context and the emergence of oil in the Middle East. The sun sets over the vast deserts of the Middle East, casting long shadows over ancient cities and caravan routes that have witnessed the ebb and flow of civilizations for millennia. This region, steeped in history, has been the cradle of empires, the birthplace of religions, and the crossroads of the world's great cultures. But as the 20th century dawned, a new chapter in its storied history began to unfold, one that would be written not in the ink of scholars but in the black gold that lay beneath its sands: oil. In the early 20th century, the world was undergoing a seismic shift. The age of steam and coal was giving way to the age of oil. Machines, factories, and vehicles powered by oil were transforming economies and lifestyles. The industrialized nations of the West, particularly the British Empire, were on the lookout for new sources of this precious commodity to fuel their expanding economies and navies. The Middle East, until then, was primarily known in the West for its historical and religious significance. But all that changed when explorers struck oil. The first significant discovery was in Persia, modern-day Iran, in 1908. This discovery was a game-changer. It signaled the beginning of an intense scramble by Western powers to stake their claim on the vast oil reserves of the region. The British, with their vast empire and naval dominance, were particularly keen. For them, securing a reliable source of oil was not just a matter of economic interest but of strategic importance. Their navy, which was the backbone of their empire, was transitioning from coal to oil, and they needed a steady supply to maintain their global dominance. Over the next few decades, oil fields were discovered across the Middle East, from Iraq to Saudi Arabia. These discoveries transformed the geopolitical landscape. Countries that were once remote and overlooked became the focal points of global attention. Western companies, often backed by their governments, established operations in these countries, extracting and exporting oil and, in the process, amassing enormous wealth. But this rush for oil was not without its challenges. The Middle East was a complex tapestry of cultures, religions, and ethnicities. The arbitrary borders drawn by colonial powers, often with little regard for these complexities, sowed the seeds of many future conflicts. Moreover, the local populations, while initially unaware of the immense value of the oil beneath their feet, soon began to demand a fair share of the profits and a say in how their resources were managed. The involvement of Western powers in the oil industry and the politics of the Middle East laid the groundwork for a series of conflicts and power struggles that would come to define the region in the 20th century and beyond. As we delve deeper into this history, we'll see how the quest for oil intertwined with the aspirations, ambitions, and grievances of the people of the Middle East, setting the stage for the tumultuous events of the 100 Years' War. Major conflicts and oil's role. The sun's rays shimmered on the surface of the Persian Gulf, a body of water that has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the birth of religions, and the ambitions of great powers. As the 20th century progressed, this region, with its vast oil reserves, became the epicenter of a series of conflicts that would shape the course of history. The discovery of oil in the Middle East had transformed it from a region of historical and religious significance to one of strategic importance. But with this newfound significance came a series of challenges and conflicts, both internal and external. The Iranian Revolution, 1979. The streets of Tehran were filled with chants, protests, and a palpable sense of change. The Iranian Revolution of 1979 was not just a political upheaval, it was a seismic shift that would have repercussions far beyond Iran's borders. The Shah of Iran, a pro-Western monarch, was overthrown, and in his place, an Islamic republic was established under the leadership of Ayatollah Khomeini. One of the first acts of the new government was to nationalize the oil industry. This move sent shockwaves through the global oil markets and the corridors of power in Western capitals. Iran, a major oil producer, was asserting its control over its resources, challenging the dominance of Western oil companies. The Iran-Iraq War, 1980 to 1988. As the dust settled on the Iranian Revolution, another conflict was brewing, this time between Iran and its neighbor, Iraq. The Iran-Iraq War, which raged from 1980 to 1988, was one of the longest and deadliest conflicts of the 20th century. While the war had multiple causes, including territorial disputes and ideological differences, oil played a significant role. Both countries vied for control of the Shatt al-Arab waterway, a vital route for oil exports. The Gulf War, 1990 to 1991. The tranquility of a summer morning in Kuwait was shattered by the roar of tanks and the march of soldiers. In August 1990, Iraq, under the leadership of Saddam Hussein, invaded Kuwait. This invasion was not just about territorial ambitions, it was about oil. Kuwait, a small but oil-rich nation, was a prize too tempting for Saddam to resist. The world reacted swiftly. A coalition of countries, led by the United States, launched Operation Desert Storm to liberate Kuwait. The Gulf War, as it came to be known, was a testament to the strategic importance of oil in global geopolitics. The U.S.-led invasion of Iraq, 2003. In 2003, the world's attention once again turned to Iraq. The United States, along with its allies, launched an invasion, citing the threat of weapons of mass destruction. While the official reasons for the invasion were centered on security concerns, many believed that Iraq's vast oil reserves were a significant factor. The Syrian Civil War, 2011-present. The winds of change that swept across the Arab world in 2011 reached Syria, plunging it into a civil war that continues to this day. The Syrian civil war, like many conflicts in the region, is multifaceted. While sectarianism and political grievances play a role, the control of oil and gas resources is also a significant factor. The story of the Middle East in the 20th and 21st centuries is one of hope, ambition, conflict, and tragedy. Oil, with its promise of wealth and power, has often been at the center of these stories, shaping the destinies of nations and the lives of their people. The socio-economic impact of oil in the Middle East. The Middle East, with its vast deserts, ancient cities, and rich history, has always been a region of contrasts. But the discovery of oil brought about a transformation that was both rapid and profound. Cities sprouted from the desert, ancient nomadic cultures were thrust into the modern age, and nations that were once impoverished became some of the wealthiest in the world. The economic boom. Imagine a small desert town with a few mud brick houses, a marketplace, and camels resting under the shade of date palms. Now, fast forward a few decades, and that same town has transformed into a sprawling metropolis with skyscrapers, luxury malls, and a bustling international airport. This is the story of cities like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Doha. The revenues from oil exports led to an economic boom in many Middle Eastern countries. Infrastructure was developed, industries were established, and modern amenities became accessible to the masses. The skyline of many cities in the region began to be dotted with skyscrapers, symbolizing their newfound wealth and ambition. Social transformations. But the impact of oil was not just economic, it was deeply social as well. Societies that were once predominantly agrarian or nomadic began to urbanize rapidly. This urbanization brought with it a host of changes. Traditional societal structures were challenged, and new ones emerged. Education became accessible to many, leading to increased literacy rates and the emergence of a middle class. However, this rapid transformation also brought challenges. The influx of foreign workers, the erosion of traditional values, and the disparities in wealth created social tensions in many countries. The resource curse. While oil brought unprecedented wealth to the Middle East, it also brought challenges. Economists often talk about the resource curse, the paradox where countries with abundant natural resources, like oil, tend to have less economic growth and worse development outcomes than countries without these resources. One of the reasons for this is the over-reliance on oil revenues. When a country's economy is heavily dependent on oil, it becomes vulnerable to global market fluctuations. A drop in oil prices can lead to economic crises, as many oil-rich countries in the Middle East have experienced. Furthermore, the easy availability of oil revenues can lead to complacency. Governments may neglect other sectors of the economy, leading to a lack of diversification. This makes the economy vulnerable in the long run. The way forward. Recognizing these challenges, many countries in the Middle East have embarked on ambitious plans to diversify their economies. They are investing in sectors like tourism, finance, and technology, aiming to reduce their dependence on oil. The story of oil in the Middle East is a tale of transformation, opportunity, and challenges. As the world moves towards renewable sources of energy, the region stands at a crossroads, with its future shaped by the decisions it makes today. The global powers and their role in the Middle East's oil saga. The story of oil in the Middle East is not just a regional tale, it's intricately woven into the fabric of global geopolitics. The vast oil reserves of the Middle East have attracted the attention of global powers, leading to a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and interventions. The British Empire, the early entrants. The British Empire, with its vast territories and naval dominance, was one of the first global powers to recognize the strategic importance of Middle Eastern oil. Their interest was twofold: securing a reliable source of oil for their navy and ensuring that the oil routes remained under their control. This led to a series of agreements, treaties, and, at times, direct interventions in the region. The United States, a new player on the block. As the 20th century progressed, another global power began to take a keen interest in the Middle East, the United States. With its growing industrial and military might, the U.S. recognized the importance of securing a steady supply of oil. This led to a series of alliances with oil-rich countries in the region, most notably Saudi Arabia. The U.S.'s involvement in the Middle East was not just about oil, it was also about countering the influence of its Cold War rival, the Soviet Union. This geopolitical rivalry added another layer of complexity to the region's oil politics. The Cold War and its shadows. The Cold War, the ideological battle between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, cast its shadow over the Middle East. Both superpowers vied for influence in the region, supporting different factions and governments. Oil was a significant factor in this rivalry, with both sides keen to ensure that the oil reserves and routes remained under friendly control. The modern era, new challenges and players. As the 21st century dawned, the geopolitics of oil began to shift. New players, like China and India, with their rapidly growing economies, entered the scene. Their thirst for oil led to new alliances and partnerships in the Middle East. At the same time, the push for renewable energy sources and concerns about climate change have started to challenge the dominance of oil. While the Middle East remains a crucial player in the global energy market, the rules of the game are evolving. The involvement of global powers in the Middle East's oil saga has been a double-edged sword. While it has brought investments, development, and alliances, it has also led to conflicts, rivalries, and, at times, outright interventions. The story of oil in the Middle East is a testament to the region's significance in global geopolitics and the lengths to which global powers will go to secure their interests. The future of oil and the Middle East. As the sun rises over the dunes of the Arabian desert, casting a golden hue over the vast expanse, one can't help but ponder the future. The Middle East, with its rich history and vast oil reserves, stands at a crossroads. The world is changing, and so is the role of oil in global geopolitics. The shift towards renewable energy. The 21st century has brought with it a growing awareness of the environmental impact of fossil fuels. Climate change, driven by the burning of oil, coal, and gas, has emerged as one of the most pressing challenges of our time. This has led to a global push towards renewable sources of energy, such as solar, wind, and hydroelectric power. Countries around the world are investing in green technologies, setting ambitious targets to reduce carbon emissions, and transitioning away from fossil fuels. This shift poses both challenges and opportunities for the Middle East. Diversifying economies. Recognizing the changing dynamics of the global energy market, many countries in the Middle East are taking proactive steps to diversify their economies. They are investing in sectors like tourism, technology, and finance, aiming to reduce their dependence on oil revenues. Initiatives like Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 and the United Arab Emirates strategy for the future are testament to this shift. These ambitious plans aim to transform the economies of these countries, making them more resilient and diversified. The role of technology. Technology is playing a pivotal role in shaping the future of oil and the Middle East. Innovations in drilling and extraction techniques are making it possible to access previously untapped reserves. At the same time, advancements in battery technology and electric vehicles are reducing the demand for oil in transportation. Geopolitical implications. The changing dynamics of the oil market have significant geopolitical implications. As the demand for Middle Eastern oil decreases, the geopolitical importance of the region may also diminish. This could lead to a shift in global alliances and power dynamics. However, the Middle East, with its strategic location and rich history, will always remain a key player in global geopolitics. The challenge for the region is to navigate these changing dynamics, forging a path that ensures prosperity and stability for its people. The story of oil in the Middle East is a tale of transformation, opportunity, and challenges. As the world moves towards a more sustainable future, the Middle East faces both challenges and opportunities. The decisions made today will shape the destiny of the region for generations to come. Lessons learned and the path forward. The journey through the intricate tapestry of the Middle East's relationship with oil offers a plethora of lessons. From the early days of exploration to the geopolitical chess games of superpowers, the story is a testament to the transformative power of a single resource. As we reflect on the past and gaze into the future, several key lessons emerge. The double-edged sword of wealth. Oil brought unprecedented wealth to the Middle East. Cities transformed, economies boomed, and standards of living rose. However, this wealth also brought challenges. Over-reliance on oil revenues, lack of economic diversification, and the so-called resource curse became evident in many oil-rich nations. The lesson? Wealth, without strategic planning and diversification, can be as much a curse as a blessing. The imperative of sustainable development. The environmental impact of oil extraction and consumption is undeniable. Climate change, pollution, and habitat destruction are just some of the consequences. As the world grapples with these challenges, the importance of sustainable development becomes clear. Transitioning to renewable energy sources and adopting sustainable practices is not just an environmental imperative but also an economic one. Geopolitical realities and the quest for stability. The Middle East's oil saga underscores the complex interplay of regional and global geopolitics. Alliances were forged, rivalries intensified, and conflicts erupted, all centered around the control of oil. The lesson here is the importance of diplomacy, dialogue, and collaboration in ensuring regional stability. Embracing the future with innovation. The future of energy is rapidly evolving. With advancements in technology and the global push towards sustainability, the energy landscape of tomorrow will be vastly different. For the Middle East, this means embracing innovation, investing in research and development, and preparing for a post-oil era. The power of resilience and adaptation. Throughout its history, the Middle East has shown remarkable resilience. From the ancient civilizations that thrived in its deserts to the modern nations navigating the complexities of the global energy market, the region has continually adapted and evolved. This resilience will be crucial in the coming decades as the Middle East charts its path in a rapidly changing world. The story of oil in the Middle East is a rich tapestry of history, geopolitics, and economics. It offers lessons in resilience, adaptation, and the transformative power of a single resource. As the world stands on the cusp of a new energy era, the Middle East's journey offers insights and lessons for us all.